All right, YouTube. Let's continue with building a new programming language. So as always, we are following this book, Crafting Interpreters, and the section we stopped at last time is the string literals. So let's have a look at that. So now that we're comfortable with longer lexemes, so just to remind ourselves, we had these one character lexemes, and then we had these like comments, for example, here, or we had spacing we just drop, or for example here greater, equal, or greater. So I think we also made some tests, if I remember correctly. Yes, which is nice. And now we are looking at string literals. So we'll do strings first, since they always begin with a specific character double quote. Yes, unless you're doing Python. So let's say that we get a double quote. Then apparently there's a string function we call. Let's implement that. Now I'm pretty sure it needs a mutable self, and it's not returning anything. So yeah, so what's the idea? The idea is that you get something like this. Then we know we saw this character. So now we want to just grab more and more until we until we reach this one, then the next one. So let's just write that. So while the peak is not the end, and we are not is at end, yeah, okay, so now it's just a bit weird for me to read. Then we will say, if we find a new line, then we need to increase the line number, otherwise we just advance. So now we start on this one, we peak, we see it's not a double quote, then we're also not at the end of the stream, and it's not a new line, so we just keep advancing until we see this one. Now interestingly, this should also support like double what am I trying to say, multi-line strings. Let's look at that later. So if we're at the end, then it wants to return an error, which we cannot do. So we need to return a result, nothing, or string, right? That's, yeah, scan token here is a string. Zoom in a little bit. So the error result is a string. So let's go back to the string literal function we had. That one. Okay, so if we're at the end, we return an error which says unterminated string. Otherwise, we also eat the last double quote, and then the value should be self.source, and to iterate we need the as bytes, and then we want from start +1 to current -1. Because the start was this mark that is set when we enter here, when we enter this function, and then current will be that one. I think, let me just look at advanced. Yeah, it increases current, and I think this will not include the last one. You know, if you do like a substring like this, it won't include the last index. So we just take up to current, and then we will say we add a token literal, because we don't have overloads. It's kind of interesting that he can just add this token. Okay, so it's because it's just an object. Just an object. Well, we are being a little bit more specific, so let's go back to our enum. We want to return a literal value. So, and actually, it doesn't have to be an option type, right? I'm not sure why I included that. So let's forget that. So string value and value. Now I think this will not compile just because I didn't eat that. Because it's not a colon in Rust, it's the arrow. Also didn't like that. Because it's not this, it's that. Okay, so that one it approved of. Okay, yes, so this is what I was expecting now, because this is an error. This is a result type. The expression does match, so I think we can do this. Right, and then the problem is just that this is not really a string, it's just a string literal. And here maybe we have to collect it into a string. Okay, let's try to see what the error message actually is from the compiler. Try calling into iter or iter, but that's what I did. Let's try into iter. Okay, didn't like that. So value of type. So probably we do this, and then we map each byte, let's say, into byte as a character. Then we collect it. And we have the dereference. Okay, so we did have something where it says, okay, now I get it. So we do need the option here just because we're reusing the function up here when we don't want to add a token. And then this has to be a sum. Okay, and it doesn't approve of that because I think we never used this is, okay, I guess it's fine. But sometimes it's a little bit annoying that you always have to say use enum : and then just get all of it out. Warning has derived implementation for, but these are ignored during the dead code analysis. Okay, just a bunch of warnings. But if we run the tests, they pass. Now, of course, we need to write another test. Handle a string literal. Now, how to actually write the source? Maybe it's like this, ABC. And just do this, not that, but let's do the same here. I expect there to be just one token, just a string literal. I expect that the token is a what? Okay, we cannot call it string, right? What did we call it up here? We did call it string. It's gonna be confusing, isn't it? So I renamed to string lit so it doesn't conflict with the string that's already in std. I'm sure that could give some problems. So string lit, and then let's just check the scanner. The literal should be a sum, so we can unwrap it, and then it should be, okay, so we have to do something like, it should be a string value, and then we can insert equal on val and abc. Otherwise, we panic. Incorrect literal type. And that should be it. Let's run it. Did not like it because we need to use commas here. Because then I will asref it. And it failed. It's because there's always the end of file token, which I keep forgetting. Now it failed again. So, interesting. Can I give me a... Okay, so this is what I wanted to check. Is there a way to write, quotes without the escape characters, because apparently it eats those. So let's use the example here. If you need quotes in a raw string, add a pair of this thing. So is it like this? Let's try to run it. And I don't want it over there, I want it over here. Again, it failed. And now it's only finding one token. How can that be? Maybe it's just finding end of file now or something. Yeah, so for some reason it doesn't see this. Huh. How about this? Great. Interesting. So actually these symbols are automatically adding escapes. But I really want to do it without escapes. So I think the problem is probably that in this string function that's supposed to read a string, we did this thing. And I actually don't want to do that. I want to say, I want to look at each character. Let's try that. I have a suspicion that it's not going to run. You cannot index into value of type characters. Okay. Okay, so I just looked at some way to do it. Now it's not. Wait a second. So this one we should be able to do nth of this, and we need to unwrap it, unfortunately. Now, but this one doesn't work. Perhaps we can just do this. And then I don't think I need all of this. Let me keep this one because I think I will need that. Now, whatever. And sure. Okay, so I think I overthought it a little bit. Now the test failed again. So probably, yeah, this one is also doing as bytes, which is a bit annoying. It's also annoying that we have to do this unwrap. Didn't like that because we don't need to make it into a char anymore. But we do need to unwrap it. Again, it failed. Again, it is, for some bizarre reason, if I do this, it looks cheating a little bit. I'm not sure why that is. What's this isn? How is that implemented? Just to check. Current. So now we need to assume that this current is pointing into the characters and not the bytes. That should be fine here. Don't see anything. Also fine in principle. Okay, here was something. Where is this even used? Okay. Chars. Nth. And unwrap. Now I will need to think about how to get rid of all these unwraps because they're a little bit gross. Okay, here's another problem. So I want to take the substring from start to sure, why not? Current those characters. Take those characters and for each character just push it into text. Then we don't need this loop. Can I index into this value? So keep saying that. How was it? I did it up here. Already forgetting. No, that's just directly into there. So don't need to call characters when I'm just indexing. Okay, iter. Can I do into? Cannot. Interesting. Can I do to string? This is a bit weird. Okay, somewhat bizarrely, we can get this iterator by calling chars on this. So we take a substring, we call characters, and then we have an iterator. So now this seems to work. And I think we also want something like this, like a non-terminated string. And we scan tokens, so let's say result, and then we can say that result has to be some kind of error, otherwise we panic. Should have failed, and that's it. I guess we don't really care about the internal state of the scanner at this point, because if it's failed you shouldn't do anything with it. So handle string lit unterminated, and that's also okay. We need to remove these print statements, they are getting annoying. And still good. Is there anything else we want? Maybe the multi-line thing. Multi-line. def. def. See if it works. Did not work. Huh. Let's try this one. That worked. Okay, because the hashtag automatically, or pound sign automatically added an extra escaping backslash to our backslash n, which we don't want. So I just removed those and manually added the backslashes where they should be. Okay. So it's actually also complaining here in our tests, that about all of this. So I'm gonna unwrap them all, which I think is okay to do in the tests, because all these should work. And if they don't work, if the unwrap fails, it's a fine error. Okay, did not eat that. Let's go to 350. Ah, okay, so just explicitly for this case, we don't want to unwrap. What is this one? Not that we have to fix all the errors now, but just unused map that must be used. What are you talking about? Iterators are lazy and do nothing unless consumed. It says here right under. That is good to know. So let's do this instead. That is very good to know. What did I have before? Okay. Oh. Okay. That's good. We have something in 360. Should be unwrapped. Great. Now let me think, because we had the other map that I just want to look at here. But probably this is used because I'm assigning, I'm guessing. Yeah, now it's complaining about unused map, but not before. So I guess this is okay. Anyway, so this is basically the extent of our work today. We implemented this function to read string literals, which keeps peaking, keeps advancing until it finds the end. End quote. And then it just takes that substring and puts it into a token. So that's it for now. Until next time.